beautiful soul. Welcome to my podcast or my YouTube channel. I'm your host and guide, Will Caminada, and I'm here to help you awaken, heal, and expand your consciousness. Today, it's a special episode. It's the Q&A episode. So thank you everyone who has submitted your questions. I appreciate them. I've selected most of them. Some of them were similar, so you might get your question answered in a slightly different question. And if by any chance your question has not been answered, maybe I'll save it for a next Q&A episode. Or in any case, feel free to get in touch with me. If you're subscribed to my newsletter, you can get in touch with me via email, or you can DM me on my Instagram at GuyWill. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel or my podcast. Share this episode with that one friend who you think might benefit from this episode. All right, so let's get started. The first question I have is, I'd love to know any tips to move through a dark night of the soul where there is no feeling of divinity or connection. All right, so first of all, I feel you. I have compassion for where you're at, because I've been through quite a few dark nights of the soul, and I'm sure everyone listening or watching, they've also been through dark night of the soul. And for anybody who's not familiar with the term, dark night of the soul is just that moment of darkness and pain. You might be going through a breakup or a moment of deep grief. Some people call it rock bottom. It's just that moment where you feel a lot of hopelessness. And so when you're in the dark night of the soul, when you're in this period of hopelessness, this is what you feel. It's difficult to find that positivity, to find that connection with the divine, to even be spiritual, whatever that means for you. So we're not gonna feel like we have that connection when you're in it. And most of the times, the dark night of the soul is that one moment before your awakening, your spiritual awakening, or your next spiritual awakening. Okay, so when we think of life as a continuous journey of contraction and expansion, when you're going through that healing journey and that journey of the expansion of consciousness, really, the dark night of the soul is the moment where you're feeling this contraction. Okay, but know that once you get past through it, there will be expansion. Okay, so what I would say first of all is try to just be in the dark night of the soul without trying to find a connection or get past this period, because it is important to experience the dark night of the soul so that you can expand, so that you can get to the other side. Get past the idea that you need to find that connection where you are right now, and just be in the period of the dark night of the soul with that idea, with that belief that it's temporary, okay? And you are in a contracted period, and the next thing that's coming is more awakening, it's more healing, it's more expansion. Okay, don't try to get out of it and spiritual bypass. Nowadays, I feel like there's a lot of spiritual teachers or spiritual teachings that say you have to be high vibe, good vibes, all the time. And that's really not the case. When you're in the spiritual awakening journey, you're gonna go through ups and downs, and the dark night of the soul is a very important moment in the spiritual awakening, because it is the very catalyst for the next step in your evolution. So I hope this helps. And the next question is, how does one get out of a seemingly impossible trap? I feel trapped in a career. Like, if I want financial security, I have to stick to it. It doesn't make me happy, but I don't see what else I could do. I really want to know what direction I should go career-wise. Now, I feel like this is a question that might help a lot of people, because we tend to sometimes feel like we are trapped in a job that we don't like or a career that perhaps we don't even hate it, but we feel like there's more. And again, that's the process of the expansion and growth. I speak from my experience. I've never been in a situation where I felt necessarily trapped in my work, but I did feel like there was more to what I was doing, and I felt like I kind of hit a plateau and I was in a comfort zone and I needed to get out of that because I was looking for something else and that job wasn't fulfilling anymore. From a spiritual perspective, because I am a spiritual guide, so I always offer the spiritual perspective, the one that feels trapped or the one that's making you feel like you're stuck is the ego. Okay, that's an ego's construction. You are never trapped. Okay, your soul is never trapped. But when we are directed by the ego's mind constantly and only, then we feel trapped. It's not to say that the ego is the bad guy, but the ego is always trying to protect you. And the ego is always trying to keep you in familiar places, to keep you in the comfort zone, even if it feels uncomfortable. So know that deep in your soul, you are not trapped. You are free to do and to be whoever you are meant to be on this planet Earth, in this life experience, in this human experience, this lifetime that you're in. Now, I also think that sometimes the spiritual perspective is not enough, and they can also be frustrating sometimes. And I speak for myself because I've had advice or I've had guidance before and I just felt like this is just not enough. This is just not sustainable, because we also need to look at the more practical aspects of life. You want to pay the bills. You want to have abundance. You want to be able to do what you want to do. You want to be able to feel fulfilled in your career. So from that more practical perspective, it's important to know what you want. And a good way to start is knowing what you don't want, which is, you know, you don't want to be in it because you're feeling stuck. It doesn't feel fulfilling. All right. From that point, you can visualize what is it that you want. Okay. What is possible for me right now? And what is possible for me in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years? And then that's the masculine energy that we have inside of us, right? It's the time to plan, strategize, okay? It is possible to change. Maybe you don't have to change to feel fulfilled. Maybe you can do a part-time job. There are many possibilities, and the key here is possibilities, all right? Because most of the times we look around us and all we see is walls. Yes, if I feel trapped, I look around and all that I see around me is tall walls. But try to look around you and see doors instead. Then you'll be able to see many possibilities and be curious what's behind each door. Just brainstorm, okay? There's no harm in brainstorming possibilities, ideas, solutions. And so know that you are not trapped. That's the ego's construction. Know that there are many pathways and many possibilities, and get to the practical side of things. Plan things. You can change your career, but maybe that's not going to be overnight. Maybe you won't be able to quit your job and next week start doing what you love. First of all, what is it that you want to do? Second of all, how can I get there? That's why I'm saying, from a spiritual perspective, we have to keep that faith. We have to find that connection with our souls to be able to surrender and trust the process, and even visualize and connect with your soul's purpose, okay? Which is essentially to be here, but you want to be here happy. You want to be here fulfilled. That's one side of it. The other side of it, which is the more masculine energy, is what can I do? What actions do I need to take to get from A to B. You know yourself better than anybody else. You know what aspects you need to work on more. For me, for example, I'm more in touch with my feminine side, with the spiritual aspect of it. So I may need help even to make a plan, to strategize things. So I might hire a life coach, a business coach, and not so much a spiritual teacher, a spiritual healer, or a spiritual guide like myself. Assess where you need help with, and also you can ask for help. So I hope that this has been helpful. My next question is about astral projection. I've been studying more on the topic of astral projection. I'm being called to perfect astral projection to assist me in my business. Any pointers, suggestions on staying in astral projection? Mine lasts for about 10 to 15 seconds and then I jump back in my body. All right, so I am not the expert when it comes to astral projection. I have experienced astral projection in the past involuntarily, meaning I didn't intend for it, I didn't practice for it, it just happened. So I can't comment much on the practices and the steps to get to the perfect astral projection. But what stuck to me in your question is that you say you're being called to perfect astral projections to assist you in your business. So it makes me wonder if what you're really looking for is to experience higher and altered states of consciousness, hence a clearer and deeper connection and communication with your higher self and your spirit guides. Because if that's the case, you don't need to have out-of-body experiences to get to that place, to experience higher states of consciousness. So first of all, we all astral travel when we sleep. It's just that some of us remember we are more active during that sleep, during that astral travel, and some of us just don't remember at all. And that's because some of us are more in touch with our subtle bodies, either because we're naturally more in touch with our subtle bodies or because we have a spiritual practice. So if you're looking for the experience of higher states of consciousness, communication with your spirit guides, with your higher self, then know that you don't have to have out-of-body experiences. You don't have to just focus on astral projection. You can have lucid dreams as well, which is kind of a type of astral projection, which is when you're aware that you're dreaming and you can sort of take charge of the choices that you make in your dream. But you can also have that experience if you have a consistent spiritual practice of meditation and breath work. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I'm a breathwork facilitator and I also guide meditations, but that has worked for me and I know it works for a lot of people, because when you have a consistent practice of breathwork and meditation, you can train yourself to have those experiences of altered states of consciousness within yourself, because it's nothing to do with having necessarily out-of-body experiences. It's all happening within you. You know, when you meditate, when you do your breathwork practice, you're activating your heart, you're activating your third eye, and you're having those experiences within. I've had many experiences of altered states of consciousness. Obviously, some people will tell you that you can have psychedelics, plant medicines, and yes, you can do that, but on the long term, you don't want to do that every day. With breath, you can practice every day and you can have that experience at your will. I offer monthly group breathwork and meditation experiences, and I also offer 101. So in case you want to go deeper into your awareness, into your psychic senses even, you can get in touch with me. And here on my podcast and my YouTube channel, you will find, I'll put the links in the description, but you will find videos about awakening your psychic senses and also some tips on how you can do breath work yourself. And so this takes me to the next question. I just wanted to know if I should be doing breath work daily, and if so, how long? Thanks a million. Your session was awesome. Very deep. Thank you so much. And she is referring to one of those sessions that I offer monthly. Yes, they are, but they can be very deep. They can be very intense. So just to clear a little bit, what is breath work in a nutshell is any kind of work that you do with your breath. So you can just take 3 deep breaths, you can do pranayama, altered nostril breathing, you can do longer sessions of breath work that are cathartic and healing, which is what I facilitate. These longer sessions that are deeper, that are cathartic, they can be very, very intense. I personally wouldn't suggest that you do those every day because it's so healing and it's so intense. You need time for integration. Okay, you need time for integration. It's as if, and I always use the analogy of working out, it's as if you were working out every day, super, super heavy, super intense, and you're not giving your body a break. Your muscle won't grow and your body will break at some point. Okay, so for those longer, deeper, more cathartic sessions, I would say once a week, it's fine. I don't think you need to do it every day. You can if you want to set a challenge for yourself. If you're in a period of your life where you really want to heal something, then you can do that for a month, for a week, just to see how you feel, but on the long run is not sustainable. Having said that, you can do breath work every day, right? You don't have to do the whole hour session. You can do 5 to 10 minutes of breathing. There are different types of techniques, but you can use the one from my session, which is a 3-part circular breath. So I hope this has helped you. And so my next question is, how did you experience the world as a child? Did you know there was life beyond the physical? Thank you so much for your question. I was a very creative child, and in fact, I talk about this phase of my life on my book, From Darkness to Light, which, by the way, last year, for those who don't know, last year, 2020, I launched my book. I had an issue with the name. I haven't re-edited it yet, and I haven't posted back on Amazon, but I intend to do it. I'm just waiting for the right moment and waiting for the call to do this. But depending on when you're watching this, it might be available. If not, you can always get in touch with me in case you're interested to get your copy. But I do talk about it on chapter 5. It's called Afterlife. I talk about not just my experience of life as a child, but also the death of my dad when I was 8 years old. He passed away suddenly overnight, literally. And so I did not know that there was life beyond the physical. But after that event, which was my trauma, I started questioning what happens after we die. Where do we go from here? Is there an afterlife? Where is my dad? Can he hear me? Can he talk to me? Can he see me? Can he help me? And so I had all these questions which were quite deep for an 8-year-old, I think. But I always say that questioning is, if not the first, one of the first signs of the spiritual awakening. However, I didn't have anybody in my life that could guide me into that spiritual knowledge. I didn't have anybody around me to say, well, you're spiritually awakening, or let's talk about this and let me know what you think. You know, is there an afterlife? Like, can we really be sure of these things? But I do believe that questioning is the trigger for a spiritual awakening. And so when I look back, I always say that my spiritual awakening actually happened when I was 8, when I started having those questions, because then I started having dreams where my dad would show up, he would talk to me, he would guide me. And so after a few years, when I was older, I came to the realization that I had a relationship with my father, only we were not in this in the same realm, and he was able to guide me and protect me and love me even from a different realm. And so the main lesson that I got from this is that love really never dies. Love will always remain. And that's actually the name of the chapter, Afterlife, Love Will Always Remain. And it's the name of my song from my EP, From Darkness to Light as well. And I'll put the links in the description. And that song came from this experience. The fact that I was a creative, artistic child, this helped me to express all of that grief, all of that sadness, that longing for something or someone, and that kept going throughout my life. So I am very grateful for that aspect of me, to have had art and music in my life. And I often have play dates with my inner child, and I also often have healing sessions as well, to nurture my inner child. And I think it's really important for all of us to nurture, heal our inner child. And it's not a one session job, it's really a continuous work, but it doesn't have to be heavy, it can be light. And the other thing too, that I feel like children in general, they're so much more in touch with their essence than us, than adults. And so I really encourage you, if you have a child, or if you have a child in your family, or someone's child, someone's sons or daughter, really listen to them, ask questions, because we can learn so much from them. And never discredit or discard anything they say, that they're feeling or that they're seeing, because they are so much more in touch with their soul's essence than we are. And as we grow old, we sort of build those layers that prevent us from really connecting with that essence. So if we can encourage our children to, as much as possible, maintain that connection with their essence, then they will be better adults for sure. Thank you for your question. The next question is, how did you come to accept your sexual orientation as sacred and beautiful? You have a beautiful spirit, Will. Well, thank you so much. The beauty you see in me is the beauty that you have in you. So namaste. That is also something that I talk about in the first chapter of my book. And it was the inspiration for my song called Camouflage. And that song came about because I lived for most of my life hiding who I really was and trying to fit in. Camouflaging is the idea that you want to fit in, you want to change yourself, you want to change who you are, you want to adapt to the colors of the environment so that nobody even sees you, or if they see you as a part of a group, and they feel like you fit in. So it was a long journey. Well, it felt long for me. I talk about the path to self-love, because that's what it is at the end of the day. And we are all going through, in one way or another, this path to self-love and to self-acceptance. For me, what really helped me was my spiritual practice, when I started meditating every single day and really staying with myself, looking within, and also writing. That also helped, because writing became a part of my spiritual practice. I started expressing my feelings, but more than that, I got to a point where I just had this realization that I need to love myself and accept myself, otherwise people won't accept. When you get to this realization, you start working, nurturing that self-love, and really becoming a sovereign being, to get to a point where you can say, I am who I am, I love myself, I accept myself. And if you don't, then that says more about you than me. But to get to your point where you say, how did you accept your sexual orientation as sacred and beautiful? Today I see that sex energy is sacred, because that's life energy. That's the energy that creates life. That's the energy that creates all of us. How we experience our sexuality, it's something that is very unique to us, and we all have a unique path. But it's important, it's imperative to remember that sexuality was left for us in our DNA, so that we can remember who we actually are, where we came from. Okay, that's what the Pleiadians say. They say that before, when we were functioning with our 12-strand DNA, we had connections with higher dimensions, with higher states of consciousness. We had psychic powers, but then we were left with only 2 strands. But one of the things that was left intact was sexuality. And the reason being is so that we can remember our essence, remember our divinity, remember that we are able to co-create this life. Without sex, there is no procreation, there is no creation, there is no evolution. There is still, I think, a lot of taboo when it comes to sexuality itself, whether we're talking about being gay or lesbian or bisexual or heterosexual. Some people feel very uncomfortable talking about this because there is a lot of damage that's been done around this topic, but we need to make peace with it and we need to heal. So I feel like it's one of the most pivotal points in our healing journey is when we get to that point of acknowledging or even assessing our relationship with our own sexuality. So I hope that this has helped you, and I actually have another question that's very much related to this, and I want to read that story to you all. The way you live your sexuality openly inspires me. I came out a few years ago, but not many people know about me. Not much because I'm ashamed, but truly because I see no difference whatsoever between liking a man or a woman. Love is love. Yay. Do you have any advice for me on ways to improve my feelings of security about my sexual orientation? I'm asking not because I want to tell everyone, but because I do want to feel 100% good with who I am. Of course, my sexuality does not define me, and express my sexuality fully and maybe in creative ways, just like you do. Thank you so much for your question. Thank you so much for seeing me the way that you see, and I'm grateful. It means a lot to me to hear that, my way of living or my work, my music, whatever it is, inspires you, because it hasn't always been like that. And I've had people and artists and books in my life that have helped me, have inspired me to fully embrace who I am, embrace my sexuality, be comfortable with it. It seems to me from your story, from the way you're talking, that you are very aware from that spiritual perspective, that your sexuality doesn't define you. That's really powerful. Your nationality doesn't define you. The color of your skin doesn't define you. But all of these things make up who you are as a human being. And all of these aspects, all of these parts are sacred and divine. So embrace that. Know that you are a magnificent divine being of light. But I do feel that there is a sense of, because you have that much awareness, you also have the awareness of what other people may think, because you say, it's not that I want to tell everyone, but I just want to feel 100% good with who I am. You don't need to tell everyone to feel 100% good with yourself. You can be 100% good with yourself right now. Just loving yourself, practicing that self-love, like I said, nurturing that self-love, and being the sovereign being that you are. Love yourself. Be fierce, okay? Embrace all of who you are. However, sometimes for us to get to that point, we may need to tell people, okay? Because sometimes if you're feeling good with yourself, but then you're sort of measuring, adapting yourself adapting your conversations, adapting your behavior depending on the situation or depending on who you're talking to, then you're not being 100% good with yourself. You're not being 100% authentic. Okay, so there might be a few people in your life that you want to tell so that you can get to that place of, I don't care, I am authentic, I am who I am, I love myself, and if you don't love me, then again, that says more about you than me. For me, in my personal journey, that was definitely my mom. My brother was sort of, for me, the big boss of the game, because I really felt I really had to be in that space of sovereignty and stand in my truth, because I felt like there was a possibility that he wouldn't accept me. You can't expect everyone to understand you, to accept you, to love you. But if they can't see you for who you are, and if they can't love you and embrace you for who you are, then it's something that they need to work with, and you want to be surrounded by people that love you and accept you. And the other thing that I really like that you mentioned is you can express your sexuality fully, maybe in creative ways. This is so important, and they're so much connected. You know, the sacral chakra, which is the second chakra just below our navel, it's the sexual chakra, but also the chakra of creativity. It has to do with creating, manifesting things, idea, art into physicality, into the physical world. Okay, so a way to channel sex energy is to create, is to make art. Do that. You don't have to post it, you don't have to publish it, you don't have to write a book or make a video or make a song about it like I do. I did it because I feel I've always been an artist, and I feel the need to create and share it, because I do feel like if it's something that you feel like it's a gift or it's something that you've been working on, you want to share. It's only fair that you share. But you don't always have to share. You can write something, you can paint something, you can sing, and you can be intentional about it, okay? Which is something that I wasn't. But you can channel that sex energy intentionally to create things into the physical world. And actually, you can even let go of the idea that the outcome has to be a specific way, has to be a beautiful piece of art, because what really matters is the healing that happens when you're channeling that energy and when you're creating, when you're manifesting that idea. Okay, so I hope this has helped you. Thank you. And so that leads me to the next question, which is, how do you feel what to share? What is your story of discovering your gifts? So I feel like this is a little bit connected to what I was saying before. I've always felt that I was an artist and I wanted to create things, and I wanted to share. That's just the essence of the artist. And so today, for me, I have a better understanding of what is it that I want to create, when I want to create, and if I want to share. And also today, I see everything that I do as a creative endeavor or creative project, whether it's a post on Instagram, a video on YouTube, or a music video, or an EP, or a book. My main thing is that I have a clear intention, okay, which is something that I didn't have before, because I didn't have that awareness that I have today. I'm not in control of how other people will receive whatever it is that I post or publish or release, but I know that my intention will reach them. My intention always is to inspire and to potentially trigger something within themselves where they will feel something, and that feeling will heal them or will give them an insight. So I would say for anybody, anyone who's a creative or anyone who just wants to share things, be clear on your intention. Your intention could be to entertain other people, to make people laugh, to make people think, to make people angry even, right? Make sure that you know what your intention is. And my story of discovering my gifts, if you're talking about my gifts as in music or art, I think it's always been with me. I don't necessarily think it's a gift. I think the gift is the desire, right? So I had the desire within me, but I went after it. I started developing it. I studied it, and I'm still doing it. But if you're talking about my spiritual gifts, it actually was very connected, because I started writing every day for the degree that I was doing, which was songwriting, and that for me became my spiritual practice. I started channeling through writing. I started writing down, free writing my emotions, my thoughts, and from those free writing pieces, I started having ideas for songs, and then that became my spiritual practice. And then I understood that they're very much related. Creativity is very much related to divinity. And so if you practice creating things, but most importantly, if you practice mindfulness and connection with your soul, in other words, if you have a consistent spiritual practice, you will discover your gifts, because we all have those gifts within us. We are all powerful. We all have psychic senses available for us. We all have those gifts inside of us, and it's just up to us to really connect more and more with the deepest parts of ourselves and peel off the layers, the thicker layers sometimes, that might be preventing us from connecting with those powers, with those gifts. So I hope this has helped you, and thank you for your question. Next question is, I have two questions actually about the Pleiadians. Is there anything the Pleiadians want to tell me? And who is the king of the Pleiadians? So in case you don't know, the Pleiadians are higher dimensional beings. They are assisting the planet Earth. They are assisting us in the 5D ascension. So I have a whole video about the Pleiadians. You can check that out. I'll leave the cards here or the link in the description. The Pleiadians always have messages for you. The best person to ask is yourself. Make sure that you know what questions you want to ask. Open your heart, open yourself to magic. Know that they are communicating with you, not necessarily telepathically only, but they can communicate with you through synchronicities, through signs, through other people as well. I actually have a video that I compiled 7 messages that the Pleiadians want you to know. These are messages that either I've got from them and I kept getting, or that I've seen in books. So I'll leave the links in the description as well, and the card here. These can trigger things inside of yourself that you may want to ask them. I also have a meditation that you can do that's called Connect with the Pleiadians, and you can practice that meditation. Keep asking your questions and open your heart, connect with your heart, because that's how they get through to you, okay? I do psychic readings, also through breath work, and I do pass on messages that come through to me, to my clients, but obviously I need to feel more of the energy of my clients, the energy of the person who's asking, and it's a different process. And most importantly, I always encourage people to awaken their psychic abilities, to ask the questions, to find the answers within, because we all have the answers within, and I want you to be your own guru and your own psychic reader, okay? And the other question about the king, who's the king of the Pleiadians? From my understanding, there is no such thing, because the idea of kings and queens is a human thing, right? The monarchy, the hierarchy is a human thing. It's something that we have here in this planet Earth, in the 3D. Also, 2 things. The Pleiadians are a hybrid race like the human race. So what I mean by that is the human race has different races within the races. We have the Asians, the Africans, the Americans, the Europeans, right? And we are a mix mixed race. The same thing happens to them. There isn't just one type of Pleiadians. They live in different planets even. So asking that question would be the same as who is the king of the humans, right? There isn't a king for the humans, but if you're specific and you ask who's the king of the British population, then I'm able to tell you it's not a king, it's a queen. But again, that's something that we have. They don't have that as far as I know, but they do work with the energy of God and goddesses. Okay, so according to the Pleiadians, there is a prime creator that created this universe that we live in. The prime creator is not even the source, is the prime creator of this universe, okay? And so the prime creator created creator gods. And so these are the gods that can create life, create civilizations, create galaxies, create star clusters, star constellations, planets, beings, okay, of all sorts. So these are not even like humanoids, right? These are portions of consciousness that are being created from the prime creator. We are connected with that energy. But from that perspective, even planet Earth, it is believed that Gaia is a goddess. So it's the energy of the goddess that sort of incarnated as a planet to save this planet. That's why we call it Mother Earth or Mother Gaia, because it's the energy of the goddess Gaia that is incarnated in this planet as a planet. So that's how the Pleiadians function as well. Satya is a goddess, a Pleiadian goddess, and she is, well, I say she, but it's they. They usually present themselves to me as they. And so I've done some work on the book The 9 Dimensions of Consciousness by Barbara Hand-Clow, and also the Pleiadian Agenda, and Barbara channeled the Pleiadians, and goddess Satya was sort of the spokesperson. So if you're interested in learning more about them, I highly suggest the Pleiadian Agenda and or 9 Dimensions of Consciousness by Barbara Hand-Clow. So thank you guys for your questions. And the last question is actually not a question, it's a comment, but it really caught my attention, so I feel called to talk about this. It's about being a Pleiadian starseed. I was told I was a Pleiadian starseed by a psychic channeler at a psychic fair when I was 13. I hate being here so much that I have suicidal ideation, and I am sometimes afraid of myself. First of all, in case you're not familiar with the term starseed, I have a video about being a Pleiadian starseed, but essentially being a starseed is the idea that a part of you, a part of your soul comes from the stars, and that part of you is living a life, a parallel life in the stars. And second of all, I hear you, I feel you, I'm compassionate towards you and your feelings, because it can be overwhelming sometimes to be on this earth plane, to have this human experience in this 3D world. Whether you're a starseed or not, whether you consider yourself a starseed, I personally believe that we are all starseeds, but that's another topic. I understand that because I feel that way sometimes, and that's okay. The human experience, the 3D human experience, is made of duality. We will experience ups and downs, dark and light. We will experience all the spectrum of the emotions, because that's part of the human process here. That's part of the human life, the human experience here. But what I want to say to you and to anybody who consider themselves the starseeds, or even if you don't consider yourself a starseed, but you just have this feeling of, I'm tired of being here, I want to go back to the stars, I'm just tired of being a human being, especially when we're going through a difficult moment, especially when we see some of the things that are happening right now in this time and space. Yes, I understand. I feel you. I feel like that sometimes, but it's important to remember, it's imperative to remember actually, that at some level we have chosen to be here. We have chosen to incarnate as a human being in this plane, in this time and space. And there is a purpose for that. Most of the time, this purpose goes beyond what we can understand, what we can perceive with our rational mind. And going a little deeper even, most of the times this purpose is just to be here. It's just to be here. Anchoring the light, being the best that you can be, feeling all the feelings, all the emotions, evolving as much as you can, and even get rid of the idea that you have to do something. We're not human doings, we are human beings. So we have chosen to be here. And the other thing too is, because we experience in the 3D world, one of the things that come along with it is our ego and the idea of duality, the idea of separation. Your counterpart, your star side, right? Your parallel life in the stars, that being is connected with you. There is no separation. You are that being. You are there. And you can ask them to help you. And the other thing too is that the idea that life is better up there, that life is better in the higher dimensions, that life is better where I've come from in the Pleiadians or the Sirius or whatever, that's an ego's construction, because they are also going through their challenges. They're also going through their evolution. And one message that I always get from the Pleiadians is that our evolution here helps their evolution there, because we're not disconnected. And that's why they're helping Earth, they're helping us in this 5D ascension so that we can evolve and they can evolve too. And they also said that they are the next step in our evolution. So again, when we evolve, they evolve as well. And so get rid of the idea that they are in a better place, that you want to go back to that place because it's better. That's an ego's construction. You were meant to be here, and connect with them. If you feel that connection, if you feel like you are a Pleiadian starseed, connect with them, invoke them, ask for assistance, open your heart. Most importantly, that's how they connect with you, and ask them for guidance. Ask them to help you find the joy of being, the joy of being a human being. Reconnect with that joy. We have that inside of us. When we create the world that we're in, we can look around, physically see things, but we can create another reality within ourselves, okay? This life is worth living. You being here right now is enough. And you being here right now has a purpose. You don't have to understand the purpose. For the purpose is just for you to be here. Reconnect with that feeling of joy of being here. Invoke and ask the Pleiadians for assistance, or your angels or your spirit guides. And I want to add also, ask for help, for earthly help, quote unquote earthly help, because sometimes that's what we need. And I speak as a starseed as well. Sometimes we actually need people around us that bring us back into the 3D reality, that ground us. Maybe you don't need help from a spiritual guide or a spiritual teacher or healer. Maybe you don't necessarily need so much to connect up there, because you are already connected, inherently connected with your star friends and your star family. Maybe you need help to be more grounded, to be more in your body, to be more in the 3D world, understanding that the 3D world itself is not necessarily bad. We experience the duality, we experience the bad and the good, but from a 5D perspective, from a higher dimensional perspective, when you expand your consciousness and you see things from a expanded perspective, there is no good or bad. So I love you. You're not alone. Hang in there. And I hope that this has helped you. And this is it for the Q&A special episode. I hope that this has helped you. I hope that some of the answers to the questions have triggered something inside of you, and I'm looking forward to doing another Q&A podcast in the next year. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel or my podcast in whatever platform you listen to this. Follow me on Instagram at GuyWill. You can also find me on Inside Timer at Will Caminada. And please share this episode with one of your friends who you think might benefit from one of these questions. Thank you so much for your presence, and as usual, keep shining your light, keep your heart open, and let love lead the way. I love you. See you in the next episode.